What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Sit Down Saturday. And today we are going to talk about kind of the state of the union, but as it kind of addresses to third party, right? So a lot of times when I talk about third party and kind of the state of third party, a lot of people hit me up like, man, I don't see where you're coming from, or et cetera, et cetera. And today I'm going to break down why, because I keep answering the same questions. And every time when I answer the same question, then I realize that I haven't done a good enough a job of explaining my perspective on it. So hopefully this will solve it. Hopefully it'll give you some sort of insight into how I'm seeing the landscape, which is troubling at best. But before we do, a little bit of housekeeping. I don't think there's anything to be said about the MMC Optimus Prime. It's a good, solid figure. There was a lot of comments that said another Prime. The last thing I need is another Prime. Dude, I'm with you. Attach your trailer to my truck. I'm 100% on your side. I feel you 100%, but I did a video about this, right? It's the Iconic 6. We're always going to come back to the Iconic 6 because that's what makes the money. I know I keep calling him Optimus Prime. I know he's technically Orion. Forgive me. It's just a manner of speaking. Sometimes I call Superman, sometimes I call him Clark. It's just the way it goes. So yeah, I'm with you. I would like to see a lot more interesting and unique pieces from MMC. I mean, namely the tapes. Where are the tapes? Lord, please give me the tapes. Oh, look at this. I meant to put this away. I'm dusting currently. So, think about me. Keep me in your thoughts. Thoughts and prayers and likes and shares, as they say. But yeah, I'd love to see the tapes. I'd love to see them get cracking on their Defensor. That sort of stuff interests me a lot more. I'd love to see what other IDW designs they have kind of in the tuck, I really would like for them to readdress Whirl and Cyclonus. I know that's kind of wishing on a star, but shoot for the stars, aim for the moon, you know what I mean? The Dive Bomb, Firmament. I gotta be honest, I thought you guys were gonna drag me all over the internet with that one, because every time when I've seen pictures of him posted, people seem to love him, and I just wasn't enthused with them. I liked their other two releases, but this one seemed a little off to me. So I was kind of like pressed publish and like gritted my teeth and did like this, waiting for the feedback, but it wasn't so bad. Apparently the lack of ratchet in the elbow is a specific problem to this piece that I was looking at. Most people seem to have their ratchets. I don't know what to tell you. I can only talk about the one I looked at, you know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, it's a decent enough figure. It's just not built extremely well in terms of joint tolerances and hinges, and I think it's too far off center from what Dive Bomb should look like. I'm A-okay with keeping it stylized. We're going to talk a bit more about that here in a bit, but this one is almost unrecognizable to me. But the wings are cool. Wings are always cool. Last week, Sit Down Saturday with the Minosaurs. Look, I don't know what to tell you. I bought both. I think most people understood where I was coming from. I think most people understood how the score shook out. Every now and then I got a few people that were like, you're just so off here, but like, I'm really not. There were other people that say they prefer the sculpt. Like, okay, let's give them the sculpt. I'm comfortable with that. Let's swap the points there. It's still 4-5 DX9. And that's me trying to be lenient. It's funny because this one I was really being objective with, because I actually prefer a lot of the things sculpt-wise, I think specifically, because I think DX9 won sculpt, and I actually prefer the sculpt of X-Transbots, but I gave the point to DX9 trying to be fair about it. But be that as it may. And when I say that, I mean overall. Like when you go piece by piece, sometimes something can edge it out, but just the overall presentation. That doesn't mean that I think the X-Transbots is perfect, far from it in terms of sculpt. The best way I can describe that X-Transbots Minosaur is that I hate it, and at the same time, I don't hate it. Don't know what else to say about it. And then lastly, dummies. I think most people get it now. Still got a few. Listen, if you think that that is a negative thing, you don't get it, which is fine. Not everything is for everyone. But I can tell you that a lot of people do get it. And I can tell you that because I get inundated with emails, texts, DMs, PMs, the whole bit of people who have submitted and have not submitted saying, look, this has opened my eyes to what I have going on, and I'm completely rethinking how I display it. That's the point of it. And we're not perfect. We're not saying this from up high. We're saying this from in the mud with you guys. We send pictures of our collections to each other. Just this week, Robert Detoff sent pictures of stuff he's working on, and we're like, this works, this doesn't, from the outside looking in. As you can see, I'm always making changes. I'm making changes back here. I'm still not happy with this. But you work until it works. And sometimes a fresh perspective is going to help and benefit, and has been a benefit to a lot of people. If you think it's a negative show, I'm afraid you just don't get it. And that's okay. But to those who are telling me how much they appreciate and how much it has changed the way that they view their collection and how to display and appreciate their collection, you are very welcome. It's our pleasure, and we enjoy doing it, and we have more on the way. We will hopefully get into other discussions, the dummies. There's just not a whole lot going on, especially, coming up on Chinese New Year. There's just not a whole lot to talk about. So these collection things have actually been nice for us to kind of still get together and have conversation. So hopefully if you don't like it, hopefully something will come up on the dummies again that you will like. I know that was a fair bit of housekeeping. I apologize, but it had to be said. So let's get into today. So the reason why I wanted to talk about this was because a lot of this stuff seems to be crumbling. And I don't feel like people are as alert about it or concerned about it as I am. But I'm on high alert because some things don't seem quite right anymore. And it seems to be happening across the board for the most part and in tiers of the crumbling. So I thought for a moment, let's go through the troubled companies it seems and break it down piece by piece and start talking about perhaps why. We'll start with X-Transbots just because of the recent Menasor stuff, and let's be honest, right, it's not just the Menasor that's having a huge issue, it's their cup. The biggest, most vocal, loudest, passionate X-Transbots defenders I know have had to come to me and be like, man, this is terrible. I can't speak on it yet. I haven't dealt with it yet. It looks like I might be dealing with it soon. But the popular, widespread opinion across the board is that it is not built well. Now, what's my issue with Menasor? Over-engineered, not built well. Now, recently, X-Transbots came out and made a statement that they are using a different factory. The issue is we all know they have their own factory. So now we have to ask the question of whether or not they're being truthful. And I can't make a statement on that. However, what I can say is that it's not outside the realm of possibility that they could outsource to another factory if their factory was booked and busy, as it were, as the young ladies say on Instagram. That it's feasible that they would outsource this work to somebody else and that we could get a terrible product. Now, that would feel a lot more believable if they weren't known for kind of making lousy products often. Not all the time, often. When they make a great solid piece, it's kind of like, they did it! Look, they did it! It's not business as usual. Whereas, when they make a terrible piece, everybody's kind of like, God, back to this? That's about their reputation. That's about their place in this. No one can deny their sculpts. It's getting to a point where no one can deny their paint, which is crazy, but love to see it. Now they've got to get that build down pat. So X-Transbots at the very least is in hot water with the consumer base, both because of the builds and because of the raising of the prices, plus the trailer price fiasco. So they've got hot water, but at least their hot water seems to be with the clientele and not necessarily with the economics of the world necessarily. That was a lot of necessarily. Were they all necessary is the question. DX9 closed their doors. We have different sculptors and stuff and designers working with New Age and going here and being redistributed probably throughout the landscape. However, the company as we know it has closed. Now, we've talked about this already on a full video here, so I'm not going to waste too much time with it. However, Unique Toys has been rumored to have been closed as well. There's rumors to Raise, which I don't necessarily believe. There's also rumors that their Galvatron is going to be the last piece that they offer. And being as though they're tied to DX9, being as though DX9 were their designers, being as though there's some sort of obvious relationship there, and at the very least some troubled waters or trouble in paradise, then I think it's easy to believe that they too could be getting out of the game. At the very least, it's not stable. And their instability has nothing to do with the clientele. Their instability seems to be in-house. Either way, not good for the clientele. While we're on the topic of raids, large, widespread rumors that Toy World had been raided and that Toy World was done forever. But the moment that I talked about that on this channel and we saw these reports of such on this channel, and I showed the tweets or whatever, the weebs, whatever they're called, it wasn't but a week later that their black repaint of Optimus Prime went up for pre-order. So at the very least it's conflicting information, but they haven't come back out, and Toy World tends to be pretty vocal. They're a very much a stomp your feet, pound the pavement type of company, especially when they're not happy or upset about something. So once again, a sign of instability. Zeta Toys, at the tip of the spear as far as combiners were concerned, had a super established reputation and a super solid trusting relationship with the clientele. Teased a Raiden, teased a Predaking, both looked to be good, both looked to be exactly what the fan base wanted. But then Hasbro crowdfunded a Unicron, and Zeta thought that that would be a great time to launch theirs as well. And as it turns out, it wasn't a great time. And Hasbro at the very least put pressure on distributors, and at the very most put pressure on them. As a result, we haven't seen a whole lot from Zeta since, and we've seen their Raiden design pop up with another company, or at the very least a different branding. So the question remains, especially without any sign of their Predaking anywhere in the works, are they okay? Much like Michael asked Annie. And the truth is, I don't know, and I don't feel good about it. That's based on my gut, not on any facts or evidence, just on all of the rebrands, and the fact that I really think they stirred the hornet's nest with that Unicron. Hasbro was getting ready to take some serious egg on the face regarding that Unicron, and still to this day, I expect that there was a lot of shady deals being made with distributors regarding that Unicron, because Hasbro will hold stock for hostage. They will. So, I would imagine there's some foul play involved there somewhere. We'll never know the ins and outs of it unless someone decides to sing like a canary, either yellow or black. They both sing. But if Hasbro decided to go the route of putting pressure on third parties, it could explain why there's a lot of pressure over there now. Now the question is, what pressure can they actually apply? And if they could have applied this pressure all along, why haven't they? And my suspicions are that they can't apply a whole lot. However, they might be able to apply pressure to different distributors. They might be able to work a way in there. That I don't know. But at the very least, something's troubling there. And then lastly, fans toys. Recently I reviewed the Smokey. People said that I blindly praised it, although I said I felt like it was built different than any of their others in regards to not being of the same caliber. There's rumors circulating that they've switched factories. Something seems off. There's rumors circulating of them being raided. There's rumors circulating of them closing down. There's rumors circulating surrounding them El Total. Do I believe all these rumors? Certainly not. However, oftentimes rumors start from somewhere real. Oftentimes where there's smoke, there's fire. I would suspect there's something going on. At the very least, it seems like they're moving more cautiously now than they were 10 months ago. And ironically, that was during the Bud Ice hype. Now, simultaneously with all of this, what are we seeing? We're seeing more diverse G1 stuff. Kang Toys Predaking, this aerial bot set that's coming, it's more diverse, it's more stylized, it's not as much a literal translation, and that might be the loophole for third party to kind of continue existing, if things seem to be headed on this trajectory. Because what actually is still around? Legends, Magic Square, and New Age debating and fighting it out for that G1 spot, and Iron Factory, which are in their own lane being, I think, super successful. As far as everything else, what do we have? Mainly MMC. They've diversified their brands, they've diversified their releases, they have a pretty solid reputation, some real misses, and some home runs, but most of what they put out is just really good. Not perfect, far from trash, really good. And while all this diversity is going on with third party, we're also seeing Takara Masterpiece diversify their Masterpiece line with this kind of more sculpted skids that we're seeing, which I think looks good, but I'm not spending any more money on any more skids. They're lucky X-Transbots got what they got from me. But that being said, this is a move from Takara expanding their Masterpiece line, which could be good news for us, depending on their ability to be prolific. So that's kind of where I see the state of third party right now. The good news is Chinese New Year has come to a close. Things will get up and running again here soon. Hopefully everyone has been able to remain safe. There's a lot of traveling at Chinese New Year. There's a lot of going back home to families and such from the big cities. Hopefully everyone's been responsible and taking care of themselves, and we can get back to a pretty productive year and hopefully get some news as to what's coming. And hopefully that news will be indicative of the state. And if we don't get the news, I think the indicative nature of the state has just been said in this video. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.